Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. In today's episode, I have 12 spring DIYs that you absolutely cannot miss. These are beautiful, they are easy, and they are sure to be some of your favorites also. Not only that, but these DIYs are high-end and they won't break the bank. If you're someone who likes creating beautiful home decor, I would love if you would consider subscribing. But let's get right into the DIYs. This DIY is one of my favorite spring DIYs I've ever done. Now this is a piece of drop cloth. I bought this at Walmart. It was like $16 or something, and it comes with like a whole ton of it. You can get these on Amazon at your local hardware store, anywhere. But I'm just doubling this up and tracing out the shape of a carrot. I really just freehanded this. It just kind of was what it was, so use your best, or you could print a template off if you felt like you needed one. Why on earth I am cutting this way with my scissors, I don't know. It's one of those things that I was watching the video back going, this is totally not how you cut with scissors, but I just needed to cut these shapes out. Obviously, there was something that I was multitasking and not paying attention. So I'm taking my carrots, and I'm also cutting a second batch of carrots out. So I doubled over that drop cloth again, traced my first carrot, and then just did that. So I'm going to have 4 of these drop cloth carrot shapes. I'm going to fill these with some polyfill. We're going to glue them together. They turn out absolutely adorable. Oh my gosh, I love how these turn out. So I took my carrots forms and just placed them out. So that way I'm going to glue the 2 pieces together. So I just want to make sure that the outside portion is painted the carrot color. This is just a pumpkin color of chalk paint. You could do this as heavy of coat of paint that you wanted, or light. I think either way is going to be really pretty depending on how primitive or distressed you want these. So I was just showing you there how they all looked once they dried. Since it is drop cloth you're working with, it does fray quite a bit. So I'm just going to take my fingernail file and sand down a little bit to kind of reduce the fraying on there as I work with it. Now this is just a stamp with some script on it. I don't know what it says. I don't even think that it's in English, to be totally honest with you. It's just a stamp I picked up at Hobby Lobby, but I've seen some script stamps at Dollar Tree. You might already have something. But this ink pad is also just like a $2 ink pad that I picked up at Hobby Lobby, and it seems to work great for these projects. So I'm just going to kind of go all the way down each side of my carrot, stamping this script design on there. I kind of push the stamp down. This one I'm pushing the fabric into the stamp to kind of go back and get some spots that the stamp didn't transfer. You're going for a very rustic look with this, so it does not need to be perfect, and it's totally fine that some areas show up better than others. Some are darker than others. It just adds to the character of your carrots. Now the fun part of getting these glued together and starting to fill them. So you're just going to take a bead of hot glue all around the edges, and I work in sections so the glue doesn't dry super quick. So that way each section that you're pushing together is going to have the best bond possible. And then when I get to the top, I skip and leave an area at the top, because obviously we're going to need an area to put our polyfill into this and fill these carrots. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other carrot as well, just taking that bead of glue right along the edge. Now I have polyfill I love to buy cheap pillows, or if you have pillows that maybe you don't use anymore, or if somebody's giving away some pillows, even if they're super ugly, I always say yes to them because I love to have the extra polyfill for projects like this. If you don't have any polyfill, or you don't want to have to worry about buying some because this is a smaller project, some grocery sacks, if you still have some of those plastic grocery sacks, would actually work really well as a way to use those. So you just want to make sure to use a dowel or something to scoot all of that polyfill or whatever you're using for your fill down into the point of your carrot. You just want these filled as tightly as possible, and make sure that you use something to get all of this fill everywhere down into that little point. That's what really makes these look high end. Now you'll notice on this one, as I'm pushing this in, the seam is going to pop here. Oh, there it goes. Very easy to fix there. What happened is either I didn't have enough glue right there, I filled it too full, which probably wasn't necessarily what that was. It was probably that the glue had dried a little bit before I pushed it down and it didn't get a great bond. So super easy to fix. You're just going to pull back some of that fill, put your glue on there, and then you're just going to use some clamps to clamp these together. So if you happen to notice that you're getting a seam that pops like that, you can still work. You see that I put these clamps on and I just go right back to filling these little carrots up, and it works great. Any kind of greenery is going to work. I'm choosing to use a boxwood greenery. These actually are from the wedding section at Hobby Lobby, but the Walmart boxwood would work great. I just happen to be out of that and I had some of this, but it looks like there's about 4 little pieces of boxwood on each of these stems that's coming out. So it's not over. I mean, you could put a lot of greenery coming out of these carrots and I think it would look absolutely beautiful. So this is just a little bit, just enough to bring that pop of green in. So I just stick these down in. I didn't even glue them, but you may want to, especially if you plan on selling them, may want to just put a little bit of glue in there to hold those. But I tied them tight enough with my twine. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but just in case, you decide you want to put a little bit of glue to hold those in place in there, I would, definitely think about if that's something you want to do. So I'm just using some twine to tie off the top of these carrots, and I just think these look so cute. I double up my twine and tie a little bow, kind of just adds another little rustic primitive element to it there. You could even stick a little button in the middle if you wanted to go as far as that. Now once I get to this point, there is a little bit of excess trim on my carrot, like the edge of my carrots. So I'm just going with my pinking shears here, and I'm just going around trimming it back if I feel like there's too much of an edge. And I just think it looks so cute, and it also lets a little bit of that natural drop cloth show through, which I think just adds to that rustic element. I leave the tails of my bows kind of long. It just feels kind of like a little bit of almost like a root type of feel, like you're pulling the carrots out of the ground, and you have the hanging root. I don't know. I just loved the long tails of the twine on there, so it's just a matter of personal preference. But the same thing on this carrot. I just kind of clean up the edge if I feel like it could be cut a little bit closer or a little bit better, a little bit more definition. I just take the time to do that. Oh my gosh, these carrots are so beautiful. I love how these turned out. I think these are the perfect little bowl filler or a shelf sitter. If you had a bunch of them sitting somewhere, I think they would be a cute gift to give to people. If you have a craft show coming up, these are such easy. I mean, these did not take long to make at all, and they're such a beautiful item. I really am pleased with how these came out, and I just think they're so fun. I love using that pop of orange and carrots in my spring decor, especially with some cute little Easter bunnies. What do you guys think of these? Are you going to try them? I hope that you do, because they are so easy and they turned out so cute. I have these styrofoam eggs, and I thought it would be really fun to make some egg topiaries. Now I'm just showing you that there's all sorts of different sizes that you can come up with. This yellow one came from Dollar Tree. It had some beads all over it and glitter, so I just kind of sanded it off. My other ones came from the craft store, but anyway, you can get your hands on some different sizes of eggs. Will be great for this DIY. I want to make some egg topiaries. I thought this would be so fun. I made a moss egg in one of my last videos. You guys loved it, so this was just kind of taking it and doing something a little different. So each of these eggs is just getting a coat of sage green chalk paint. That is just so you don't see any of the styrofoam underneath the moss after we glue that onto each of these. It's just such a necessary step. Now this is just some reindeer moss. You can pick this up at Dollar Tree or any floral section of a craft store. I'm just going to cut mine into some little pieces. And as I was doing that, it was super, super dry, which happens sometimes. Reindeer moss has kind of a buoyancy to it, like kind of spongy feel. And sometimes if it's crisp, you just need to mist it a little bit with your mister bottle. You don't want to totally saturate it, but it's going to kind of alleviate that crunchiness and give you that nice bouncy feeling that the reindeer moss is supposed to have. After I do that, I'm just going to chop this up into such little teeny pieces and then just start gluing it on. This is a little bit time consuming, but it is such an easy project to do. It does use a little bit of hot glue, so just make sure you've got like a nice fresh pack of hot glue sticks when you're doing this. But you're just going to work in sections, putting some glue onto your egg and then just kind of bouncing it down into your reindeer moss. Just be really careful when using your hands that you're not going to burn them, because that hot glue can kind of seep through that reindeer moss. So just make sure when you go to kind of push things down with your hand, you've let it maybe sit for a minute or two. And that way you're not going to get this super hot glue. So you can see just working in sections. I'll just fill in a little section and then kind of fill it in with the glue. And then I'll just bounce that down into, and it picks it right up. So you just want to continue this step with all of the eggs until they're completely covered in moss. Sometimes you may need to take a little bit of time and do a little bit of like trimming on your egg, like give it a little bit of a haircut. It starts to look kind of shaggy. And so I just take my scissors and just kind of working from the base along the shape of the egg, just kind of work my way up to the top. It just depends on how like organic you want these or how shaggy you want them. I'm just taking a couple of terracotta pots and just dry brushing some white paint to brighten them up. I like the way that looks. That kind of matches my decor, but whatever pots you had would work fine. Now I am just putting a dowel into the egg here. That's what I'm going to use. I did put some pool noodles or styrofoam, whatever you have, use that in the base of your pot. And then a dowel is what I'm using to kind of glue that down in and get that stuck down into that. Now you can see those little sticks I have in the center of my screen. That was a bunch of grapevine sticks that I purchased at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to try and make these look like they are the trunks of like the little topiary, little branches. So hopefully it turns out really good. I actually like the way it ends up looking, but you could just use just a simple dowel painted or a stick from your yard or something. Make it as personable as you want to, or as like however matches your style. So you can see I did poke a hole with the dowel, and I'm just going to get a couple of sticks and then match them up. I wanted the straighter sticks kind of all lined up together, so that way they weren't going like several different directions. You can see I'm just going to kind of stick those down in, and then I'll trim them off where I feel is a good spot to trim them. So on the next layer of egg that will go on, I'm just poking a little bit of a hole on it, making sure that those sticks will go in fairly easily. And then I'll use some hot glue to make sure that that egg will stay and it's not going to go anywhere or anything like that. I'm making 2 topiaries, one with 3 layers to it, one with 2 layers. So I'm just going to copy the same process on each of my topiaries on each layer. Obviously, the top layer on each topiary is not going to have anything coming out of the top of it. So you just need to make sure that you're putting your sticks into the bottom of it as you place it on. One thing you can do is place a little bit of Spanish moss. I do have my eggs fit securely onto the pot, so they're not raised up, but you could do that. You just want to make sure you're not going to be able to see, especially where my pool noodles are bright blue. I don't want to see those, so that's one reason I covered them in the Spanish moss. Now here's where I'm securing my base egg to the terracotta pot. But again, if there was any like openings or gaps or anything, I would not want to see that blue pool noodle. I do on these bigger styrofoam eggs, I had a barbecue skewer that goes all the way through, and then I placed my sticks around the barbecue skewer just to give it a little bit of extra stability. With the smaller eggs on the 3-tiered topiary, it's not as big of an issue because the eggs aren't that heavy, but these styrofoam eggs, the bigger they can be, or the bigger they are, they can be a little bit, you could lean to one side or the other with the weight. And so I felt like it needed that barbecue skewer in the middle. Now I'm using my heat tool just to clean up any hot glue webs, but look at how cute these look. You guys, these are so beautiful. And I've seen these in stores for like $50 and up. I mean, they're just, it cost me just a couple of dollars and a little bit of time. It was such a fun project, and I think these are a beautiful addition to your decor. I love a good topiary in my decor, and to have them kind of be more for spring and Easter, I think these are absolutely perfect. What do you think? Would you guys try to make these? In the spring section at Dollar Tree, I found this little hanging like planter. It kind of hangs at an angle. I thought it was really cute, but it kind of has a bee theme on it. So I'm just going to remove the tag, and I'm going to kind of try and heat up the glue or adhesive underneath the bee and remove this. It kind of does leave a little bit of like a splintered wood there that I have to kind of scrape off and sand down. But I didn't really want the bee on there because I want to make this more like a carrot themed thing. You'll see what I do with it. It turns out really cute. So I'm just going to cover the whole thing in just a green color of paint, and I'm going to use a crackle medium on here because I want the green to kind of show through. I didn't want the entire project to be that. So I'm just going to put this as some folk art crackle medium. I just picked this up at Hobby Lobby, but you just want to do a thin coat of it all over, and just anywhere you want that crackle effect to kind of take place. I like to speed up the drying process time with my heat gun. It has you like let it sit for about 30 minutes, but I'm not very patient when it comes to crafting. So now the magic of this is you're going to paint your top color, which I chose to do white. And as your top layer paint dries, it's going to kind of slip on that crackle medium, and it causes your paint to crackle. It's the most amazing stuff. It's really kind of fun. But it does work very quickly, so you just have to be careful. You can't go over your sections painting a lot, or you'll disturb kind of the process that happens. But when you heat it up with a heat gun, it kind of accelerates that, and you kind of get some bigger cracks. But look at how awesome that is. And it's kind of hard to see on camera, but if you were to look at it like up close or in person, that grain really pops through there. Now I wanted that crackle, I wanted it to really look aged. I want this to look like it's kind of been hanging out in your garden for like the last 10 years and it's just been weather worn to death. That was kind of the vibe I'm going for. I personally love that look. So depending on how much you like or dislike that look, you'll kind of maybe tailor yours to how your style is. But I do know a lot of us really love that rusty, crusty kind of look. So I sanded away some of the crackle there to kind of make it look like bigger chunks of paint had fallen off over the years. And then I just went around the edge with some antiquing wax. Now this is just a clothespin, and I'm going to take my clothespin apart. I do this on 5 different clothespins, and then I glue them together here. We're going to make some carrots to stick inside of this. So I'm just gluing them together to make that carrot shape, and then just take your favorite color of orange paint. You might have some left over from your fall DIYs. It's perfect to pull it back out for spring. I love decorating with that carrot pop of orange in the springtime. Now at the top of our carrot, I get some little Spanish moss, and I'm just going to trim this up into just some little bits and pieces. You don't have to do this step, but I really like the texture that it adds to the carrots. I mean, naturally, when you pull a carrot out of the ground, it probably doesn't have this sitting on it, but it might have some dirt and stuff sitting on the top, so it kind of mimics that. But just with some hot glue that I put at the top of the carrot, I'm just kind of going to dip my carrot down into that. Just push some more or less, however you want on there. I just like to have it really fine so it's not totally out of control. Now this is some boxwood from Walmart. I'm just taking a couple of pieces of these. You can see I just broke off 3 little sprigs to put as my carrot greenery. So I'm just going to glue those onto the back. I'm going to stick these inside of my container and glue them so you won't be able to see the back of that carrot. Now these are some wooden tags that I had. I picked them up on clearance at Hobby Lobby, but they always have something similar to this in their party section. So if you're looking for anything like that, head to the party section. And I just put some antiquing wax on here, and I'm going to brighten it up with the teeniest bit of dry brushing of white paint. The reason I do that is I'm going to put a stamp on here. I'm going to put the word carrot patch. I just thought that sounded so cute to put on here. And I love these click stamps that I got from Michael's. And I'm pushing hard enough that I have and kind of rocking them back and forth. So I have a little bit of the edge of the stamps appear on there. I liked kind of the rustic feel of that. Now just putting a little knot in some twine, I'm going to feed that back through my little tag here that covers up the hole. And then I'll just glue the tails down on the back so you can kind of see the sign there. Now, of course, something happened and I obviously didn't get myself gluing the carrots in, so I do apologize for that. But it was as simple as I put some Spanish moss in the bottom there, put a couple little daubs of glue on the back of the carrots, and put them against the background of our little hanger there. But look at how cute this is. I think this turned out beautiful. Such a fun little pop of color. I love that you've got that rustic earthy of the tag color on there with that crackle paint and then that bright pop orange of those carrots. I think this is the perfect project for spring. I love this. I think this would be so fun, even to have like hanging off the side of a tiered tray or hanging off somewhere in your home. I just think this turned out so cute. What do you guys think of this one? I thought it would be really fun to make a little garland or banner out of some vintage seed packets. And so I got onto Etsy and searched, and there are so many different styles to choose from. These are the ones that I ultimately decided on. I'll leave a link for them down in my description box. It was about $2 for the files, and I actually got 6 more files with them, but I really only needed 6 for the banner that I'm doing. So I just printed these out and cut them out as you saw there. Now I'm going to start making the banner. So I'm just taking my scissors and I'm running it along the edge of each of these to kind of fray it. I really want these to look like seed packets that you found like in your great grandmother's attic, that maybe she thought the artwork on them was so beautiful and she'd been holding on to them for years, and so you're deciding to make a banner or something. I just really wanted to have that vintage look to them. So after I scrape all of the edges with the scissors to kind of rough those up a little bit, I'm just wrinkling the paper, as you can see. Crumple it up, wrinkle it. If it tears, that's totally fine. I just really want a lot of creases to be in here because it will really drive home that vintage look. I'm going to do the same thing on each of the rest of these as I did on that first one. Now, to bring out those creases that we made and all of those wrinkles, I'm just using some of my distressing ink. You can pick this up at any craft store, Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby. It is great. And I'm just using the ink pad itself to go around the edge of each of these. Where we roughed that paper up with our scissors, it's going to absorb that ink and really give it that nice look. That's really aged and kind of, really looks rustic. And then as I rub this over, you can see gently on over the wrinkles, it kind of picks up all those raised wrinkles. You can see here the difference between the two. It really picks up that ink and makes it look like it's just been sitting around for years. After all of that ink has dried, I'm going to put a little bit of Mod Podge on each of these, and I'm going to do this on the front and on the back. This is going to protect it. This is printed on cardstock, by the way. I forgot to mention that, and I did just print these with my regular inkjet printer. But I'm just putting Mod Podge over these to help protect them. It's something that I want to pull out maybe from spring to spring or use again. It's not just something that I want to use and then toss or anything like that. We're putting a lot of effort into it, so we want it to stay nice. So this kind of makes it have that nice coated paper feel. Now, if you have any rips or tears in your paper, at this point the Mod Podge will help seal those, and so it will just kind of look like it's just aged a little bit more. I'm just taking my Crocodile here to punch some holes into there. I didn't want to use a hole punch because it's a little bit wider and bigger than what I wanted. I just wanted a teeny little hole punch. I didn't want to take a lot away from the design on these, and so I just love the little size on the Crocodile. But if you have something else to punch a hole in these, that's perfect, and that will work just fine. Now I'm going to take some twine, and this is the thicker rope twine that you can pick up at Walmart. And I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue on the end, let it kind of dry for just a second so it's still like pliable, and then I'll just kind of wind it with my fingers to kind of make a nice little like needle point almost, so that way it will be really easy to thread through each of these little seed packets. However, just a little bit of tape on the end would do the same thing. So just whatever you've got or whatever method, just be careful if you're rolling your fingers on the hot glue not to burn yourself, because I've done that a time or two. Now, depending on where you hang this, it will depend on how many you print out. It will depend on how far you space them apart. It would be even really cute to put like a wooden bead between each of them. Really use your imagination and dress this up for what you're using it for. I just have a little mirror that I thought this would look really cute hanging in front of. I kind of do different banners for different seasons or holidays, and I thought this would really have that nice kind of potting shed feel, perfect for springtime or just to bring a fresh touch to your house. Look at how beautiful this is hanging up. I love all of these designs. They're some of my favorite flowers, and I just love the idea of using these vintage looking seed packets. Now, if you actually had some vintage seed packets, how cute would that be? Or even just pick up some cute seed packets. I've noticed the artwork on some of the ones that you just find at your garden store or the garden section at your home improvement store all have really cute designs on them. Some of them do. So that would be something you could even look at too. I just love how this looks, and I think it's going to be so adorable in my home. I found this cute little soda carrying case for $2 when I was thrifting at my last little thrifting adventure. It has this little bottle opener on the side. When I saw it, I knew immediately what I wanted to do with it. So I'm just going to take the bottle opener off here and just leave this without it. Now, when I was making this video, this random like strawberry appeared on my table, and I had to go back and watch the footage. And you can see my son throwing it in there. He denied it and denied it until I showed him that footage. And then he was like, okay, fine, I was caught red-handed. I don't know. I thought I would leave it in there because it was just kind of fun. Now, I just am grabbing some of my stencils that I have here. I wanted this to say fresh herbs, and I had this little sign that had the word fresh already on it, and so I thought it would be kind of fun to utilize what I had there. And then I'll use those Dollar Tree letters you can see down in the left-hand corner there. I'll use those to put the herbs word on that bottom little slat of my little carrying case here. I really wanted this to be kind of an organic, fresh looking little carton that you would maybe cut fresh herbs from your garden or something and place them in there while you were carrying them. And so that was kind of the vibe that I was going for with this. Now I'm just using one of those little foam circular tools that you pick up at Dollar Tree to do my stenciling here. You can see how well that works. You just want to make sure when you're doing your stencils that you don't oversaturate your tool with paint. Otherwise, you're going to end up with some seepage underneath your stencils. Now, this did not have to be perfect because I will be kind of distressing and sanding this down so it looks like it's faded and has been used through many, many trips to your garden to pick your fresh herbs. Now, when I was doing the word herbs, I decided to start with the middle letter and kind of line it up with the word fresh there. And so I started with my R and then just kind of went on either side of that. I'm sure there's lots of different ways for you to center things or do things. Again, it didn't have to be perfect in my eyes, but I think I did a pretty good job of centering it all here. But just the same process with each of the letters here to get that stencil done. To distress this a little bit, I'm just doing a little bit of dry brushing with some white paint here. I will go and sand this so it won't look quite like so janky or anything. And I do take my fingernail file and I'm just filing all the edges here. And I do go over the words and the letters that I stenciled on there. I just wanted this to look like it was pretty aged and just kind of faded, barely there that you can see those words on there. I pay attention to all of the edges because I will go around with some antiquing wax as well. You can see I'm just putting that on a baby wipe and just kind of going over all of this. What will happen is where you dry brush that white paint, it will kind of pick up that antiquing wax since it's chalk paint, and it will kind of age the paint as well as the edges. I just put a little coconut liner in the base of this, just ripped one apart from Dollar Tree and shoved that in there, and then just took some of the green herbs, the greenery herbs that I had in my stash and shoved in there. Of course, whatever you want to put, if you want this to be a practical thing to place some herbs in, however you want to do that or put something in here, it's just a really cute piece to have to decorate for different seasons. I think this really kind of screams that fresh spring vibe. I just love this, and I think that wood tone and the herbs, the greenery, is going to be a beautiful addition to your decor to kind of freshen it up. What do you guys think of this one? I love a good tag in my decor, and it's so fun to make them over. Now, these are just several different options. Some are Hobby Lobby clearance, some are Dollar General, some are Dollar Tree. This one was thrifted from my local thrift store, and it's actually the one that I'm going to use. I love the shape of it, and I just think it's going to be really, really cute. But you have a lot of options when it comes to tags. You can find the shape anywhere. You could even cut your own out. Now, mine had this adorable little gnome that was more for like fall or Halloween time on it. I carefully took him off because maybe I can use him in something else. I don't know, but I definitely want to use this little circular like washer shape on it. Now it was pretty grungy, so I had to kind of scrub it and clean it and sand it all down. And I wanted to find a design to put on here. So I have these little labels that I purchased off of Etsy last year. I made my mom some dish towels for her kitchen with them on, and I really thought it would be cute to do one of those. And I found a darling one with some oranges and a cute little bird on there. And I just feel like bringing birds into my spring decor are a way that I can really keep that spring feel. Now I just taped some tissue paper down to a regular piece of printer paper. I put this through my inkjet printer with the design. I had measured it so I knew how big I needed to make it in my software, and I'm just going to cut it down, all of the excess edges off of it. Now I took a little piece of cardstock or just like a little packaging that I cut out to be the exact same shape as my design because I want to put some stamps down, but I don't want the stamps to show behind my design. So I'll kind of show you what I'm doing here. I'm just going to take, you can see my blank square there. This is kind of like a mask or a shield. And I'm just taping it down with some Scotch tape, and I'm going to put some stamped designs around here. So that way when I take off that square piece, it's going to be completely like blank in that area. If that doesn't make any sense, just keep watching. I promise you'll see exactly what I'm doing. So I remove my stamp here, and just be careful when you're using stamps and you have a mask or shield like this that you're making sure to push down really well on the area right around the edge of your mask. That way you can get your stamp design right up to the edge. So I'm using a couple of different bird shapes and a couple of different floral shapes on here, and I just go around, and there's no rhyme or reason to this. I'm just seeing where there's an open space, where it looks good, using like half a little bit of a design on a corner or an edge. I wanted this to almost look like toile or a stencil or something, just kind of a fun little background. These bird stamps came from Dollar Tree, and they're some of my favorite. I absolutely love them. You can see I will use the little stamping block with some of them. Some of them I just do with my hand. Now I wanted this to be a little bit faded because that black ink is a little harsh. So after the ink is completely dry, I just sand a little bit of it with my fingernail file. Now this is just a little finger dauber that I picked up at Hobby Lobby with some antiquing wax. I'm going to go around the edge here. The edge has been sanded, and so it really soaks in this antiquing wax, giving it a little bit of definition. I made sure to do the sides as well because I think eventually I'll put another design on the back of this so it could be a dual purpose DIY, but I just wanted to make sure that from the side angles that you saw, it was all cohesive. Now to get my tissue paper design down, I'm just putting some Mod Podge down in that blank area, and then I will let that completely dry. Now while the Mod Podge is drying, I'm just going to put a little bit of antiquing wax on that little washer. I think that is such a fun element to have. If you don't have like a little wood cutout one like I have, an actual washer I think would be really cute on there. Now I'm going to set my design down over that square that's completely blank because this tissue paper is really thin. So if I had put that stamp all over, it would have really kind of muddled up that design there. So I just wanted to make sure that was totally blank behind that. Now I'm putting some parchment paper over that tissue paper and just using my mini press to reactivate that Mod Podge. And that's going to get your design on there beautifully, no wrinkles or anything. To seal it all in, I'll just go over with a little bit of Mod Podge and just lightly going over, making sure that this is sealing my ink in, as well as covering and sealing in that tissue paper. Just using a little bit of hot glue, I'll go ahead and attach that washer right over the hole. Now I have some thicker twine here. I really like the look of the thicker twine with this thicker chunky tag. I felt like it looked really nice with that. I also thought maybe a couple of beads might look nice on it. So since it was thicker twine, I stuck some needle nose pliers inside of my beads and kind of just pounded them a little bit. That way I could make sure that I had an opening big enough that I could fit that twine through there. And I did have to use my pliers to kind of pull it through. It took a little bit of time to get this, but I really think it was worth it. I think those beads really do make this look so cute. It's the little touches that make things look so nice and upscaled. Now I'm just tying a knot in the top here, making sure that it's really tight, and then I'll just cut my edges down. I always take my fingernail and kind of break apart those edges so it doesn't look so crisp and clean. It looks like it's been around for a minute or two. Here's the tag all complete. I think this is such a perfect piece of decor. I think it is very springtime, but it is also something that could stay out all year long. But I really feel like on a tiered tray or on a shelf as a shelf sitter would be so cute and such a fun piece of decor. Even making items like this to sell, I think these would be good sellers. I just really think this turned out so pretty and elegant. What do you guys think of this? Did you guys like how it turned out? You'll have to let me know down in the comments if you like decorating with tags or not. I think they're so fun and such a little versatility that you have to make them for different seasons and different times. I just really love them. I found this darling milk can at Dollar Tree. It was $3. It was at Christmas time. I'm hoping they have them for other seasons, but I wanted to give this a makeover, and so I tried to sand the letters off of there, but I quickly realized that this was like a raised vinyl sticker that was on there. So I just used my putty knife and my heat tool on some of those hard to get areas, and I was able to scrape off very nice and easy. It gives you a nice clean surface to work with, which is nice because I thought this was like embossed in the tin, but it wasn't. So once you get that off, you've got a nice blank surface to work with. Now I wanted to make this kind of Eastery or spring-like, so at first I had these little printouts that I had made. I can leave a link to those graphics down below. So I start out using one of those, but I'll show you why I changed my mind here. But this is just a pie crust mold for the baking section at my craft store, and I loved it because I thought I could make some air dry clay or resin trim. So I'm going to try it out. I just put some cornstarch in my mold, and this is just some of the just regular air dry clay. You can pick this up at any craft store. Sometimes Dollar Tree even has it. But I just roll it out into a long kind of worm shape there that will fit, and I can just press it down into the mold, making sure that all of my clay gets down into all of the little surfaces. I just use my putty knife to scrape off any excess clay along the back. You can see there, and then I will just go through, make sure my clay is still pushed down into all the areas, and then smooth it out. And then I just flip the mold over, and using gravity, this is when using cornstarch really comes in handy, is it helps your clay pop right out of there. You can see how that came right out. And look at how cute this is. This is kind of what I was going for at first here, was making a little oval shape or an egg shape to kind of go over this design. So I did Mod Podge that design down onto my surface. And then using some glue, I'm just going to glue on the trim right around, kind of encasing that little design. You want to do this while your clay is still wet. That way you're able to manipulate it and kind of get it into the spots that you want. Now with my design, I needed a couple extra little pieces of the trim there. So I'm just cutting it down to size and fitting it in. So this is what it looks like here. This is after it sat for a minute. I kept looking at it, and I didn't know that I absolutely loved that design in there. I think I could do a different project, so my mind is kind of thinking what else I could do. So I'm going to get these other two little areas on here of this trim. It's kind of like a braided trim. Maybe it's lattice, I don't know. Anyhow, I'm just going to do the same process as I did with the little beaded trim. Just press my clay down into there, and I'm going to make another little area of trim to go around the rim of the milk can. You can see that I have a little bit of a space inside, or where my clay separated there. I just kind of will press it together. I add a little bit of clay to it to make it so it's a little bit thicker in that area. So hopefully I don't have any issues with breakage there. but I just want to go ahead and smooth everything out along the back. Now flipping over my mold and kind of bending it back, I did use the cornstarch to help this kind of fall out. And you can see as I bend this back, it does just kind of fall right out. Now I do have a little area you saw that kind of broke apart in the middle there. I will just kind of press that together. You could even use like a mister bottle of water to kind of spray to adhere it. Where I'm gluing this all down onto my surface, it's not going to be a huge issue. I am just using some wood glue. It is what I had on hand. I know some people will use, I believe Tight Bond is what it's called. If you have a preference when you're working with air dry clay of a type of glue, let me know down in the comments. But if you happen to have wood glue and that's what you've got on hand, it seems to work well. So I think you would be just fine. So I'm just going to lay this down around the rim of my milk can. I do set it upside down to help gravity so it doesn't slip down or anything. Now, after this had completely dried, I went in and painted it. I decided I did not love the picture in the middle. It just looked off to me. So I painted the entire can this eucalyptus color, it's almost like a duck egg color as well. And I'm going to change the picture in the middle. Now, there was tissue paper that I had laid down there, and you can kind of see wrinkles from the tissue paper, which work really well with the design when I put some wax on this to kind of de-stress it. So I don't mind that. I just kind of had to embrace it and go with it at this point. I think it looks great. You'll have to let me know what you think. But sometimes you change your mind with projects, or you're just not feeling what it looks like, and you just kind of have to pivot and just kind of move forward. Now I got these stamps at Dollar Tree. They're beautiful. They're perfect for spring. I love birds and I love using them in my springtime crafts. So I'm just going to use these stamps and this ink to put a design here. I just think this turns out so cute and vintage. And then it has the word beautiful. Maybe not my first choice of words, but it's what I had a stamp for and it fit in there. And so I went ahead and stamped that there as well. Now to distress this a little bit, because you know that that's my jam here, so if you don't love distressing, you probably will skip this step, but this is just going to give a nice aged look to the milk can, and I loved the look of the white wax on it. I felt like that's going to bring all of those raised areas. It's going to make them all have some depth and characterization to them. I put the wax all over the entire can, including just making sure it got in all the nooks and crannies of that trim that I put on, and then just wiped it back with a baby wipe. I am really pleased with how this turned out. I think it's so beautiful. It's perfect to put a little plant in like this. You could even put like a little bird nest on the top with some eggs, or even a cute little bird on it. I think that would tie that little bird on the front of it in. I just think this is so sweet and perfect for spring. What do you guys think of this? Do you like this? I think the techniques that were used in making this milk can, you could definitely use throughout any season for any style in your home. This is such a fun little thrift flip hack. Maybe you have some vintage items laying around. We're gonna make a cute little spring vignette. Now I picked this little metal box up and this little green frog at Vintage Market Days. This little drawer has a wooden front. It's all metal. It has this darling little pole on it. And I've been looking for a little flower frog like this that is this green color, and I finally found one, and I'm so excited. Now, to put my pieces in here, when I do little vignettes like this, I like to use this little tacky stuff here. It's so nice because it's not permanent, but it's going to hold things in place. So if you happen to have it on a shelf or something like that, maybe a lot of traffic through the area, it's not going to like vibrate or bump anything. It's gonna fall. It just gives things a nice cushion to kind of sit on and use. I have this little teacup here that I made. I'll post the video in my description box if you want to have a look at me doing this cute little teacup here. It's just a little cup that I put the little word dream on and a little nest, but that tacky stuff helps hold it in place so it's not going to like slip or fall. Now I have this little bunny image here that I've used. I printed several of these off over the years to use in different DIY projects. So I just went through all of my Easter stuff and grabbed things that I had. And so with this, I just tore the edges so it looked kind of a little more vintage, and I'm going to kind of wrinkle and crinkle this so it looks really old and aged. I even take my fingernail file and I give this a good sanding here, and so all of those crinkled areas that are raised up and everything will get a little bit of a vintage, more faded vibe to it. Totally optional, but it's just something to kind of help this look like it's been around for a minute or two. To age this one step further, I'm taking just a little bit of antiquing wax. This is just a little finger dauber here that I picked up. I actually found these finger daubers at Hobby Lobby. I've never seen them there before, but they were down the aisle where like the rubber stamps and the distressing ink is. And so if you're happening to look for some, I'm sure you probably find some on Amazon. I was just pretty excited that I was there and found them. I've really liked having them so far to use for items. They wash up really nice. So instead of like a baby wipe, you can keep using these. I'm not sure exactly how many times they'll last for, but more than a baby wipe, I will say that. So I'm just going around the edges, and then I also go over the front of the design. So this just kind of puts a little bit of antiquing wax anywhere that you tore or sanded. This paper is going to just like, that ink's going to saturate into those areas and make it look really vintagey, really like it's been around. You found it maybe cleaning out great grandma's shed and thought, oh, look at this cute little Easter thing. I don't know. I just think I love stuff looking like this. So it's just a matter of personal taste. I also do the back of it. I have people once in a while say like, oh, what do you do to the back of it? I do the same thing to the back of it. So it looks nice from every angle. Now I will just glue a craft stick to the back here because we're going to use this. I wanted a little bit of sturdiness on this. And so I'm going to just put a little bit of glue there. So that way I have a way to stand this up in my cute little drawer. Now these are all the pieces that I've decided to use in here. I did do this bundle of carrots out of some old spindles or bobbin thread holders that I had, so I can link the video to that if you would like. I literally just went and found a bunch of stuff that would maybe work. Some of it I use, some of it I end up not using. And it's just so fun to kind of place things together and make cute little vignettes and use what you have. And then maybe as you see things like this, when you're out doing your thrifting or you're going through something, or maybe you're visiting vintage market days, you can see pieces and think, oh, I remember that. I want to try that or something. So hopefully this just gets those creative juices flowing. Now I had that little, I'm not even sure what you call it. It's sort of like a handle of a door would go in, like the little door handle, the lock part. I picked that up for just a couple of dollars at my local antique store, and I've been hanging on to it. And it actually looks really cute in this little vignette. So I was quite pleased that I got to use that. A lot of this stuff is just vintage stuff that I've found or thrifted or made. So that kind of makes it a lot of fun. Now, not everything needed to have that tacky stuff on there, the tacky putty, but I did put some on the back of the craft stick of the bunny postcard, and then also I put some on the bottom of that teacup as I showed you earlier to help that kind of stay in place. I think I ended up putting some on that little bird as well on the edge, just to kind of help hold him in place so he doesn't go anywhere. Anywhere that I have any gaps or anything, I just kind of put in a little bit of Spanish moss to kind of fill in any gaps, as I said. And that way it just kind of makes it look like maybe this was something left out in your shop that some birds decided to come and make a cute little nest and make a little home out of. And so maybe you have a couple different family of birds have lived there at different times. The trick that you want to remember when doing a cute little vignette like this is you just want to look for different textures, different types of materials. So I have like the metal, I have the wood, I have the little Spanish moss or the coconut liner of the little egg nest there, the paper, some artificial plants. You just want to look for a lot of different things that go together. And I pulled a lot of things out and only a few of them made it in, and that's okay. And I may even change this as the season goes on, think of something else that be like, oh, this would be really cute in there too, or maybe I'll change this out for this. That's the fun with these little DIY projects, is they are so versatile. You can customize them however you want. It's just kind of a fun little hack to use some little knick-knacky things that you might have to make a beautiful vignette. What do you guys think of this one? I think this is the cutest sign from Dollar Tree. If you watched my haul video a couple weeks ago, you'll remember this sign, and I loved it, and I wanted to find something to do with it to keep it as close to original state as I could because it was so cute. So I'm going to make a wreath with it. I'm just taking a wreath form, and this is just a garland. You can pick these up like at any craft store. I pick them up when they're like 40 or 50% off. I actually used some of the end of it there for my niece's bridal shower. I tore some little sprigs off to kind of use to tuck in like on our serving table. So I don't end up using like everything I have here, but it just kind of depends on how full you want your wreath to be. So I'm just placing this around the form, and I'm going to use some zip ties on the outer ring of the wreath form, and I'll just put that through the center of the vine or the garland there, and I'll just zip tie those together. You could use some floral wire if you wanted. I really just like the security of the zip ties. They're easy to use. I don't know, sometimes the wire starts to hurt my hands after a while when I use it, and so that's kind of why I like to use the zip ties. So it's just a matter of personal preference, but I do pick these zip ties up at Dollar Tree. At my Dollar Tree, they're in the automotive section, so if you're looking for those, that's kind of the aisle that they're down by kind of like, it's like hardware and automotive, I guess. So check there. Then I'm just going, once I get that outer ring all done, I just snip these off. Scissors will work. They're a little thick, these bigger ones, for some scissors if you don't want to damage those. So I'm just using my little snippers there. Now, it really kind of looks sad at this point, so don't worry. It looks okay in the end, I promise you. I absolutely love how this turns out. So I'm just kind of fluffing out the garland here and seeing where I need to add some more zip ties to, because you've got those other rings you can see on that form there, and so you're going to zip tie some more down here. So I'm just getting all going in that same direction and kind of getting a general idea, and I'm going to place the sign in the middle. And you can see, I mean, look how cute it's starting to look, you guys. See, I told you it was going to look cute. It's going to be beautiful in the end, I promise. So I'm just kind of deciding where I need to go next with the zip ties here. And so I move in one ring. So it's the second to outer ring. That's going to be where I'm going to place all around, because the sign is going to cover the next two areas of the rings. So everywhere it looks like you can pull that vine to that second ring, I just put a little zip tie, and I'm just using a smaller zip tie. Honestly, I probably could have used small zip ties for the whole thing. I just didn't have enough, so that's why I used the bigger ones on the outer ring. And then after I go all the way around and can see that it's all adhered to that wreath form, I'm going to put my sign in, and I'm just going to pull all of that greenery up around the wreath, because you don't want to have any of it tucked behind. And you can see here it's got these little holes up at the top of the sign where the hanging tag was, and so I'm going to use those to help get this onto the sign. So onto the wreath form. So I'm just putting some zip ties through, and I will just tighten those in the back, and I do it on either side, and you can see I just snip those off there just with some wire cutters. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. And then we'll cover those up, and I'll show you kind of how I do that. But this is going to give that security. Obviously, you want this sign adhered to this wreath form, so it's not going to go anywhere or blow anywhere. You don't want to go to all the trouble of making this wreath and then have it all blow apart. So you just want to make sure that it's really secure here. Now, when I flip this over, I kind of realize that the bottom of it, obviously there's no holes or anything in the bottom of it, but I really want to have it zip tied down also. And so I'm going to pull out here in just a second my Crocodile. I love this tool. I use it for a lot of things. It is a little bit pricey. Around like the $25 or $35 range. I can't remember exactly, but definitely worth the investment if you think you're going to use it a lot. It does grommets and things like that is what it's technically used for, but it is perfect for these Dollar Tree signs. You can kind of see here, I'm going to stick this in, and it just punches a hole so easy in it. And it's a nice size hole. You don't have to use like an actual hole punch and sit there. Sometimes those hole punches, when you use them on things like this, they just don't work well. So it is a great tool. I'll leave a link to the one on Amazon. But I did see them at Hobby Lobby last time I was there. So I think they're starting to be found more like in the scrapbook section of your craft stores. So I'm going to zip tie this part of the sign also. And that's just going to make sure that the top and the bottom, the sign is well secured. Now to make sure that these little zip ties are covered, I'm just putting a little dot of glue and I'm just going to press down some of the leaves or the little branches of this little greenery here. You'll still be able to see the welcome, but it will cover those and that way it makes it so that way you're not going to see like those blaring white zip ties there. I mean, you could paint them, you could add, I mean, whatever you want to do, but this is what worked for me. Now I have these picks of carrots. I picked these up from Hobby Lobby and I thought they were so cute. And I originally was just going to take a couple of the carrots and put all the way around the wreath, which would be adorable too. But I thought it would be fun to kind of make a little showcase swag down here at the bottom of it. So I'm just taking 2 of these picks and just putting them, as you can see, crossed over so they meet in the middle, and then it has kind of a bunch of carrots on either side. And you can see I just stuck their little stems through. I'm going to zip tie that right in the middle so it's going to secure them. And then their little stems, you can wrap those kind of and tuck them into the wires on the wreath form to help them stay put as well. So now I'm going to take some carrots off of this other pick that I have here, and so that way I can, and I actually cut all of the flowers and everything off this pick because they were so cute and I thought it would be fun and it would make the wreath look so much more full to have these all the way around it. Now I just kind of place each carrot on here and you just kind of play around and see how you want them, if you want them every which way. As I get this one in there, I decide, no, I want them all kind of facing like the same way as if they were all going in a circle around the wreath there. And since I had 3 little sprigs of these white flowers, I just stuck one in with each of the carrots there. I just thought that added such a fun little fullness to the wreath and just kind of made it so whimsical and cute. Now, since these came from this stem, like the pick, they have these wires on them. And so I just, rather than zip tying these, I'm just going to wrap those wires very securely around the wreath form. And I do that both with the flowers and the carrots, and that's just going to make sure they're not going anywhere. You just want to make sure that they are definitely wrapped around 2 or 3 times very securely. I think this is looking so cute. Oh my gosh. Okay, so for the center of the bottom there, I just got some burlap ribbon and tied it just in a shoestring bow here. I thought that was just perfect. You could embellish this any way you wanted. You could have left it with the raffia there. You could have made a big bow, whatever. I mean, everybody's very particular. I know that sometimes when I make big bows, I get, oh, that bow's way too big. Or if I add a bow at all, oh, you shouldn't add. Do whatever you want in the middle of this. It's going to be absolutely beautiful and it's going to be your taste. But I just thought for this, for my house, I really like this burlap bow on it. And I left the raffia that was on the picks originally on there too. So it kind of just adds a little bit more fluffiness and texture. And I did just zip tie this bow on here as well. So it's not going anywhere. And that way it's just going to be so cute on there. I thought the burlap was just kind of a fun addition with the carrots and gardening because you kind of, burlap's just one of those materials that you use every once in a while. So I just thought it all fit together and I just fluffed the bow up here. And oh my gosh, you guys, like this just took this sign to the next level. Now, as I'm looking at this, there's a few areas that are a little sparse or that maybe need a little extra. So I'm just going to take the little bits from the garland here that I have left over, and I'm just going to use some zip ties and just zip tie each of those in wherever I feel that it needs a little bit more fullness. So you can just kind of go around and do that. If you don't have any garland left over, see if there's some other type of greenery that you can add or different flowers or something. Use your imagination, just something to kind of help it look not so sparse in some areas and get it as full looking as you want. That's what's going to make this look nice and expensive and high end, is the fact that it's going to be very full and have all these different textural elements and everything to it. I loved this sign and this wreath so much that the second that I finished this, I immediately took it and placed it on my front door. I mean, never mind the fact that it snowed the next day and I have a spring wreath on my door. It's totally fine. Eventually the snow will stop, but I'm trying to channel that inner spring and, you know, I just want spring and nice weather for everyone. But I really think this is such a fun wreath. I really think those carrots pop so cute, especially against the color of my door. And I just love that little truck. Dollar Tree really did a great job with this sign. So hopefully you can find some of these and you can make some fun projects with them too. I picked up this charger at Hobby Lobby on clearance, and I also have this wooden egg shape that came from Dollar Tree. Really, any charger will work, but I really love the look of the wood behind this egg. Now, instead of placing it where you would normally place the one side up, like there's kind of a front and a back to the egg, I'm doing opposite of what you would think, and I'm placing the back side of the egg as the front because I like how it pops out against the charger a little better. Now I have all of these different Easter napkins. I picked these all up at a combination of TJ Maxx and Home Goods. I always get asked where I get my napkins, and those two places are my go-tos to look for fun napkins. Now I'm going to do some decoupage on this little egg. I thought it would be cute. I went through all my different Easter ones and I found this darling bunny. And I love this one because I love the contrast of the bunny color with that natural color of the wood of the charger. Now I'm cutting out my little napkin shape there, and then I'm going to paint my surface white because I want some of this is going to show through, and I want that to be a nice clean surface for my napkin to go onto. So after my paint is dry, I'm just putting on a layer of Mod Podge, and I'm just going a thin layer. You're going to let that dry completely. While that's drying, I'm going to get my design out of my napkin. Sometimes you're lucky enough you can just place your design on your napkin, sand off the edges, and you're good to go. But I kind of had to piece together a little bit here. Now look at this. This is such a trick that I want to show you guys, a little hack here, as I'm trying to get this delicate little spot in between the ears here. So if you're ever wondering, you don't want to over tear, you want to be very precise. Okay, here it is. A pencil eraser. It is the best hack when you're trying to get that natural torn edge on a napkin or tissue paper when you're doing decoupaging. It gets into those little nooks and crannies, and it has that precision without the scissors that gives you that natural edge. So keep that in mind. A pencil eraser works great in those instances. So I'm just going around the ears very delicately here because I didn't want a lot of overhang of the white napkin. I just wanted it right up to my little bunny's ears. If your design goes right up to an edge on a surface, I just use the nice fine side of my fingernail file and kind of just go in very soft downward motion, and it files off your design. Now you can do this before or after you've put your item on. I probably would recommend more doing it after your item has been heat pressed on or you've Mod Podged it on completely. For whatever reason, I don't know why I'm doing it in this order, but it works. So you can see I'm just going to put a piece of parchment paper over my bunny's face here, and then I'm just going to go over with my mini heat tool. Now I did pick this mini heat tool up off Amazon. When I got it, it was on a deal. It was like $25-ish. I'll leave a link for it in my description box if you're interested. I honestly thought I would never use it. I thought I don't know. I just grabbed it because it was one of those crafting things. I was like, oh, it might be good to have. I use this all the time. So like when I'm trying to straighten ribbon or anything, it's like the best. So take that for what it's worth. You might want to add one to your craft stash. Now I wanted some flowers to go all the way around my egg. So I'm just kind of getting the flowers, kind of tearing out some little pieces of flowers and just kind of piecing it together almost like patchworky all the way around the edge to kind of get what I felt looked nice where it needed some colors. I could have just left it where the top of the egg was white, but I really wanted to bring some color into this. After I adhere my pieces, I just go again with that fingernail file. You could use a finger sander to get the edges off. That gives you that nice crisp edge on the edge of your piece. Once I have all of my pieces adhered on there with my heat press and the parchment paper, I'm just going to go over this with some Mod Podge to seal everything in. This is definitely a necessary step, so you don't want to skip it. Now I did want to I love the definition of texture and some distressing, so totally optional, but I'm just taking a little bit of antiquing wax on a finger dauber and just going all the way around the edge of this just to kind of give it some definition as it pops out against that wood charger that it's going to be on. Then I just put some hot glue on my egg and center it. You can measure if you're a measurer, but I think this turns out as the perfect piece to go in my china hutch for Easter time. I love using metals and natural woods in there when I decorate it for different seasons. And so I loved these wood chargers from Hobby Lobby. And I thought that that egg looks so cute on there. And I love that I flipped it over so the back became the front because I just thought that, I don't know, I just loved the shape of it and I thought it looked really pretty. What do you guys think of this one? I absolutely love working with this tin, like faux tin tile that you get at Dollar Tree. I buy like several of them when I find them because they're so great to work with, and they come in lots of different colors, but I love that it's the white and silver now. I just printed this little bunny. This is just an image that I got off of Canva, and I just printed it off on some cardstock. I made it as big as I could go on just a regular cardstock, like 8x11 piece of paper. And now I'm just going to open up this little tin, faux tin. I keep calling it tin because in my mind it is, because that's what I want it to look like, is real tin, but I know it's faux tin. Anyhow, I just traced this cute little bunny silhouette out, and then I'm just going to cut this out with some scissors. You guys, if you've never worked with this stuff, it is so fun and it is so easy. It cuts like butter. Like those scissors, I mean, it just goes right through it. It's a very thin plastic, but it just cuts really well. You can get all those little intricate details, and it's not like sharp really on the edges. I mean, always be careful, but it's not like a very heavy plastic that would be. So now I'm just going to cover our little bunny here in some white chalk paint. This would be so fun to customize it to whatever color you wanted to do. You can even use this technique for different seasons. So you have a different season you want to do a little cutout or something. I mean, it doesn't have to be limited to Easter. Now on the back, I'm just blasting it with a little bit of my heat gun and pressing it down. I'm just going to give it kind of a concave look. When I flip it over, you'll be able to see the edges are kind of rounded over to look like it really was like pressed tin. Now I'm using a little bit of brushed metallic silver here to kind of dry brush over those highlighted areas there. That just means I dip my brush in the silver, I wipe it off on a paper towel, and then just kind of lightly go over those raised areas. The reason I did that is so it would look like it was metal that was painted and then it was kind of worn off on those raised areas. Now I'm taking some burnt umber. You can use antiquing wax, you can use any kind of dark brown paint, and I'm just going around the edges with my stencil brush, and as I kind of dry brush that, or not dry brush it, but distress the edges with that, I'll rub it with my finger to kind of blend it in to make it look like it's rusted and it's just very aged. And I go over kind of lightly over the whole bunny with whatever's left in my brush. Now this picture I got at Hobby Lobby during one of their 75% off sales. This is from spring of last year. You guys always check those clearance sections at Hobby Lobby, Joann's, Michael's, like Home Goods and TJ Maxx, and just look for different surfaces you can use for crafts because you can get the best deals. Now I covered it with some elephant chalk paint, and then to add some variation, I used a really light lime green color, and then I'm also using, this is Agave by Waverly's chalk paint, so it's kind of a tealy type color, and just very lightly I'm going over those areas on that chalk paint where the elephant chalk paint dries. It kind of adds a little texture. This just makes it look almost chalkboardy, I guess, but I just love the variation that adds a little bit more detail to it. So now I'm just taking some tumbling tower blocks. I'm going to place these all over this cute little bunny here. This is so when I place him on our surface, it's going to give him that really 3D look there. So I just use hot glue to do all of this, and then I just set him down, kind of center him while the glue is hot there. I can kind of manipulate him a little bit, make sure he's on there really good. And I have this cute little bow tie that I add on to him, and look at how absolutely darling this looks. I love the really neutral feel to this. I think this has such a darling look, and really this could be all springtime and Easter. What do you guys think of him? I just think he turned out so cute. I have seen these little baskets several places. You can find them in the floral section of your craft store. I've even seen them like at TJ Maxx or things. You might even have one in your stash already, but to me it was the perfect shape for a carrot. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the orange burlap ribbon that I have. I got it just at the craft store. You could use any kind of ribbon. It doesn't have to necessarily be burlap, but that's just what I found, and I thought it was super cute. So I start by gluing on the bottom of the edge there, and I'm just going to do a method of kind of gluing around that bottom shape and holding that burlap ribbon into place until it dries, so I can get that nice little crisp point on the bottom. And it's like not so crisp. I mean, it doesn't have to be super perfect. But I do go ahead and kind of fold the ribbon under so that way it kind of tapers down, if that makes sense. You'll see here when I wrap this around, I end up kind of folding the bottom piece under a little bit just to make sure that it does kind of go down to a point. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. But this is just the method of wrapping and gluing every once in a while. I feel like if I wanted to, after Easter time, take this ribbon off, there's not so much glue that I wouldn't be able to do that. Once you get going, it's just a matter of wrapping this ribbon around. You can do any kind of like pattern, or you can fold the ribbon over, whatever you would like. I'll show you kind of what I do to add a little bit of texture to it since this is wired ribbon. Now I was kind of going to go up over the edge here, as you can see, but I decided not to. Instead, I just put this as close to the top there, and then I'm just going to snip it and glue it in the back. So to finish this off here, I just take a piece of burlap ribbon, enough that will stretch all the way around to the back, and I fold it over and I bring that up under. That just, to me, gave it a little bit more of a finished look, and I'll just hot glue that together in the back. Now to go back on all of the little layers there, I just kind of bend and crimp each of them to add a little bit of texture to the ribbon. So for my filler, I just have this greenery that I have. You can use anything, any type of plant that you wanted to use. I just thought that was really cute to kind of be the little green top to the carrot. And then I just make a little bow. I just make a loop out of some ribbon, and then I will pinch that in the middle, and I just use another little lace bow that I have from Dollar Tree to kind of make that, add a little cute texture to bows. You guys know I am not the best at bows, so I do the best that I can. So hopefully I'm explaining well what I did, because I can't tie bows. I do cut a length of ribbon and kind of bend it at an angle you can see there for the tails, and then I just kind of fold that over so the bow fits on it and glue it all together, and then I will just glue that onto kind of the side. I don't do it right in the center. I do it a little bit off side, and a bow would be completely optional. I just felt like it needed a little something extra, and I had this cute Dollar Tree ribbon and I thought it was perfect. And you can see, and I do decide that it, like the one tail needs to be shortened a little bit, so I just go back in and kind of snip that up a little bit. But I think this just turned out so cute. That little bow to me just kind of makes it. All right, did I do a good job converting this basket into a carrot? I thought it turned out really cute, and I think the Easter Bunny would definitely stop at my house if this was hanging on my front door. It would be so cute, also layered with another wreath. I just think this turned out really cute. I love using tin cans to do DIYs with, and I know that they are very popular and they're very easy to get your hands on a tin can. I mean, we all use different types of fruits and veggies. This is a wider can here. It was like a 28-ounce can, so I thought it would be kind of fun to make a little pocket out of this. Now, I just took the label off, and I'm just using a rubber mallet, and all I'm going to do is just pound this down. Now, it looks maybe like I'm pounding quite hard. It's not really. It might take you a minute to do this to kind of bend the shape of that can, especially the larger cans, but just stick with it, and eventually you'll get that bottom completely closed off, and then you can kind of just use your hands like I'm doing here to kind of bend and mold that shape of how you want the top of the can to be. Now I'm taking my crocodile here. I love this tool. It's linked down in my description box, but I've also recently seen it at Hobby Lobby. I'm using this to punch a hole in both of the sides of the can because I want to be able to hang this. Now, the cool thing about this crocodile is not only does it punch the holes, but I'm going to put a couple of grommets in either side, and that's going to take away, because we just cut the tin, there's a potential that it could be sharp or anything. We don't want any edges like that on there. And so I'm just going to place that in both sides, and that's going to help it look finished, and that way it's going to look like it's got like a professional edge. You can kind of see here, and then when we have it there, it's just not going to slice anybody's hand or anything like that. It's going to make it safe. So I do that on both sides with this crocodile, and it comes with all the grommets and everything in this little kit that I got here. I actually use this much more than I ever thought that I would, so it really is kind of a cool thing there. So now that all the grommets are in place, I just decided, and you can finish a tin can, there's several different ways to do this, but in this particular project, I'm just going to paint the entire thing white. I'm just kind of going for a really nice spring feel, something that you could leave out nice and airy, kind of a shabby chic type of look to it. Now I have these little rub-on transfers. They came from Essential Stencils, but I'll leave a link to them in my description box, but don't feel like you have to have these. Dollar Tree has rub-on transfers. Most of the craft stores I've started to see things, or like even like stickers or anything would work. You can obviously use like a napkin to decoupage on here. You could also do print on tissue paper, make your own stickers. The possibilities are endless. It's just the techniques that I'm showing you here. But I really do love this cute little bird that is on this picture, and that's kind of like a postage stamp vibe it's got going on, and it's really beautiful. So I just scraped, kind of rubbed that with that little stick that I have there. It came with one of the IOD transfers, but even just like a Cricut scraper or one of the ones you can get at Dollar Tree, or like a gift card or credit card or something like that. You just want to pay attention when you're doing it on a tin can that you're conscientious of like the ridges that are in the can, and make sure that you rub all of those areas, all the little hills and valleys and everything really good. Now I'm just going to take a brush after I peel the sheet back there, the transfer sheet, and you can see I'm just pouncing this in. Because of all those ridges, I want to make sure that the design is pushed down into each of those. I feel like that makes it look really nice to have all of that texture in the design. And once I do that, I'm just going to varnish it with this little piece of plastic, little transfer carrier sheet that was with it. And then to seal this, you're just going to use some Mod Podge. I just put a little bit on here. You can do whatever finish you want, whether it be matte or satin, glossy, it doesn't matter. You just want to make sure that you seal this in. Even like a spray varnish would work fine, like a clear coat or something like that. Now you can do like a wire handle on here. I thought it would be really fun to do a little beaded handle. I thought that would kind of bring another different textural element in. So I'm just taking some dollar store beads here. These came on like a big hoop, and this is maybe like a third of the amount of beads that I got with it. It's a great deal to buy them that way. And I'm just using some twine to tie this onto each of the edges, and I'll just tie a knot. So all I did was just stick that twine through the grommet there and then tie it up at the top. You could also just tie a knot in the one end if you wanted to, but I really liked the way that it looked to have that twine kind of come up over the edge. These are so cute to display in several different ways. I'm going to just put some leftover florals that I have here from some other projects, just kind of snipping off some little extras that I have to slip in here. You can definitely put all sorts of different things in here for different seasons and different times of the year. It's so fun to change these up. And you could use this to hang with the little beaded handle there, but you could also use it sitting as a shelf sitter where you have the beads draped down kind of in front, would look really cute as well. I think this turned out really beautiful. I really do think it kind of has that nice springy vibe, especially with the type of flowers that you decide to put in it will kind of also dictate the season and the feel that you're going for. But isn't that design so cute? If you guys are interested in these transfers, I will leave a link down in my description box. I am not sponsored or anything. I just happen to really like their stencils, and I think once you kind of break down the price of them, they're much cheaper than Dollar Tree, and they're very, very nice. But I think this turned out cute. What do you guys think? I would like to thank you so much for joining me for today's compilation video. I hope that you enjoyed all of these DIYs. If you had a favorite, let me know down in the comments. I always love to hear which ones you guys like the best. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you like the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.